What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
Just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people. You want to
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
So last Wednesday, I go to trivia, or just this past Wednesday. And speaking of Kanye that we're talking about in the pre-show, there's a category. They used to do this when I back at college, Ethan, at Side Street. They used to do trivia on Mondays, and there would be a category, it'd be like this, that, or the other. And they usually took it from like NPR. And NPR would always do like funny things. They had one, it was like Yankee Candle Scents, a challenge from the TV show Double Dare, or like a discontinued like soda product. And they would like rattle off whatever it was. Literally, the category was Mark Twain quote, Pitbull lyric, or a Kanye West tweet. And it was the funniest category I've ever sat through in my entire life, trying to analyze what one of the smartest poets and writers of all time said compared to Pitbull and Kanye. Two of the most prolifically weird musicians.
Both of those guys you can consider like great poets. I mean, Kanye's one of the greatest rappers of all time, if not the greatest of all time. And Pitbull is like a worldwide sensation. Like that's some pretty good company.
You openly cannot deny it. I actually do think, and Ben, I want your opinion. I actually do think Pitbull is one of the greatest artists ever.
Pitbull, not only is here's the thing. Not only is he one of the greatest artists, he's actually he's one of the best entertainers as well.
Yeah, and also like a genuinely good person.
Hey, I'm speaking. Okay, they can't hear me when you're talking. Anyone who has gone to one of his shows, they will admit they're like one of the best shows I've ever been to. Like, just it's fun from start to the end, and you never want it to end. He's also I'm a big Pitbull fan because he's also like big in the community as well.
Yeah,
like he's great with giving back, and he's very charitable. So I hope that's another reason why I like him. He's just like, obviously I don't know too much about him, but like his music rocks. His concerts are amazing, and he's very good. He's very big into philanthropy, right?
I saw him Pitbull being I think last August, at Forest Hill Stadium, which also was a really underrated stadium. It's where they used to actually hold the U.S. Open of tennis before they moved it to Corona Park in Queens. There's this like very small country club in Forest Hills, Queens. It's like they're like really exclusive, and it's where a bunch of like top U.S. Tennis players used to live. But anyways, I saw him, and his opener was T-Pain, and arguably the greatest opener I've ever been to. This guy played for an hour and 25 minutes, and like T-Pain is a big time artist, just banger after banger. The crowd, who like for the most part was like all people around my age, 24, 25, up to like 30, and then like moms, like MILFs. It was so funny watching Pitbull. He sat there and he banged his bar stool for about 10 minutes during I'm in Love with a Stripper. It was the funniest video I've ever seen in my entire life. Only to follow that up by Pitbull, who just is not only a wordsmith, but is kind of crazy. Like if you ever go to you've been to a Pitbull show, right, Ben?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't even say crazy is the right word though. He's just fun.
No, but
he's just fun.
But like you don't realize how funny a Pitbull show is until you go and attend it. He makes his show, and I've seen him twice, and it's been almost the exact same show both times. He kind of goes in a sequential order of his music about how to bring home a female. I shit you not. I need to pull it up to make sure that I am like accurate. It's like Setlist FM, yeah. All right. So when I saw Pitbull, let's see when I saw him in like August or like September. Yeah, here we go. Forest Hills, Queens. All right. So he started out with "Don't Stop the Party." All right. So he's like, you're at the club, you're partying, you're hearing "Don't Stop the Party." Then you find the girl that you want to bag, And then he played hotel room service. And he's like, all right, now you're at the club. Now you find the girl. Now you bring her back to the room for some international love. And he plays that. Like, this guy literally went all the way through his discography, describing the way to bring a woman back to your room. He then went on to Rain Over Me, Suavemente. He did a cover of Enrique Iglesias's I'm Gonna Fuck You Tonight, or whatever the song is. Hey Baby, Drop It to the Floor, and then basically played 3 of his Spanish songs that are culo, which is just ass in Spanish or Cuban. I Know You Want Me, and I Like It. And then he said, after you get done with the international love, you get really sweaty and you need a drink, and they play Fireball. Like, that's the most ridiculous set list I've ever watched, ever. It was great. Shit was actually amazing. But yeah, that's my all of this going back to the fact that Kanye has some really funny tweets, including, quote, fuck reading and anyone who can do it, shalom, and this is not a clone, or is it? Makes you wonder who truly Kanye is. Kanye and AB are the 2 best Twitter.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing, from t-shirts to hoodies, for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
After a quick 1-week hiatus, you boys back in the booth, and we are here live from the Underground. It's the Get in the Hole podcast, live from the Underground Sports Philadelphia studios, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, bringing you all the news, betting tips, and updates from across the golfing landscape. Of course, joining me, our boy Ethan up in the corner, and Big Ben Pirro. Ben, you were at the Panthers game last night, right?
What?
You were at the Panthers game last night?
I got booed, which was awesome. Every time we scored, we lost, but we scored 3 times in the second period, and I was going bonkers. I got booed, and I don't mind getting booed. I've never minded getting booed. I don't know why, but
well, while you were at the Panthers game, I was at the Rangers game, and I overheard a guy behind me. They're talking about golf, and they're like, "Oh, like, did you hear that like Rory won this week?" And he's like, "Yeah, like crazy. Like, he's been like so bad." Turn around and I go, "Actually, it's been pretty good." And Kate turns to me. Wait, hold on. Kate turns to me and goes, "You're finally saying something nice about Rory?" I'm like, "Look, I don't want to be a hater. He's a good player. He's probably the best player since 2010 post Tiger. But like."
That is not what you were saying like a month ago.
Don't worry, my time will come in about 10 minutes. My time will come in 10 minutes. Just hear me out. So I turn around to this guy and I'm like, yeah, like you played pretty well, really hard golf course, really good, compelling event this week. And he goes, yeah, like what do you win? And I'm like, oh, like 3.6 million. And they're like, yo, no way. And this one guy, in full confidence, goes, I should be a pro golfer. And I'm like, you know how hard it is to be a pro golfer? And we go on this like 10-minute conversation about how he thinks he can make it as a pro. And then I then referred him to you when I said, watch our show. And my friend Ben has been trying to become a pro, and it is incredibly challenging to do that. So I just thought it was funny. With that being said, though.
It always makes me giggle when people are like, "Are you trying to become a pro?" I'm like, well, number one, I am a pro. Number two, like when people are like, "Oh, anyone can turn pro for golf." Yeah. Good luck.
Especially now, it's fucking impossible.
Good luck. I love it. I've heard stories. I heard this one story about a guy. He played a pro-am group at a PGA Tour event, Okay, so it was like a Wednesday kind of deal. 18 holes. He shot 75. Never played in college. He was like a lawyer or something. Like, he was just like, he had a lot of money, didn't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
He then goes to a coach that I know, Dan Wingett, and is like, if you're in the San Antonio area and you need a lesson, go to Dan Wingett, actually. He's very good. He goes to Dan. This guy's like 47 years old. And he was like, I want to turn pro and I want to play in the senior tour. And Dan's like, okay, maybe we should do, club championships, maybe some amateur tournaments and kind of see how you stack up. And the guy's logic was that he shot 75 in a pro-am. And he goes, no, I want to start playing in pro tournaments immediately. I don't think he made it.
Like, can you just enter a pro tournament like off the street, or there's like a don't you need to give your handicap and everything?
Okay, so the way it works is the only time you have to give your handicap, with the exception of like US Open stuff. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know 100% how it works, because there are certain things you have to put your GIN number in. It's like a 7-digit number, and that's basically like, I'm sure it gives like the PGA Tour, like when you sign up for Q School or the USGA, access to your handicap. But if you're an AM, you have to put in your handicap, whatever your handicap is. But as far as like, in order to become a pro, you just enter a tournament as a professional, and then because then you're saying you're accepting money.
Yeah.
Problem then, because like the reason that now many people realize that they're not good enough, so they try to go back to being an amateur, because then they end up just getting a job, whatever it is, and they want to become an amateur again. It's not that simple. They put you in what's called purgatory, and so it depends on what section you're in. So in the Northeast, where like the three of us are, so in the Met section, which is Northern Jersey, Long Island, Westchester, Connecticut, you'll be in purgatory for 2 years. And so in that time, you are technically an amateur. You can only play in pro tournaments, and you can't accept money.
Damn.
So like you couldn't even do USAM qualifying or anything. And like it'll literally say your name with an A next to it, which means amateur, and then like a P or like an asterisk, like a star or something. It happened to someone who I know. And I remember like he was always a very good player, great junior player, good college player, turned pro, realized he wasn't good enough, wanted to become an amateur again. Funny enough, he started playing better when he was in purgatory, and he was leading the Long Island Open after like an opening round 64. And I'm like, damn, this guy could win this tournament and he doesn't get a single cent.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That sucks. So, but here's the thing, some organizations do it differently. Like I know the FSGA, it's like 6 months, and it's a much easier process. So it just depends. I will say though, there have been times where, because you can enter a Monday qualifier as a pro. There have been times though where guys will enter and they're not pros. It's obvious. I mean, there was a guy in the first Monday that I played last week, because I had to play Monday and Wednesday. I think he shot like 110. Like, so obviously he's not a pro, right? Even though like he entered as a pro. A lot of times what ends up happening, they pull you off the course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that happened to someone in my group when I was playing the club car championship Monday in Savannah. We were playing, and this guy, he ended up going like literally 8-7, 8-8, and we had this is gonna blow your mind, and I'm sorry for taking up time here. We had a rules official come up to us and tell us that we were slow on like the 4th or 5th hole, and I looked at her and I said, look, because I'm not afraid to like say what the deal is, and I'm just like, look, this guy just went like 8-8-8-8-8. Like I don't really know like what he wants to do. Like just
you can't do much.
Just watch him hit. And he didn't even know the rules. And then like we had another rules official following us. He's like, why are you guys slow? So it's 2 rules officials. Then we had a 3rd rules official when we made the turn. Meanwhile, these officials are following us. We had a 3rd rules official from the Georgia PGA ask us why we're behind on like our 10th hole because we started on the back. And then we had 2 more officials come up to us on our 12th hole. So we had 5 rules officials.
That's insane.
None of them are on the same page. And I remember I just looked at them and I was like, do you guys not have like walkie-talkies at the Georgia PGA? Do you guys not have like basic communication skills as to what's going on? The guy just shot like 55 on the front 9. And then they pulled him off the course finally. But like that is a real thing as well. So, and mind you, it's $500.
Yeah.
Can you imagine paying $500 to go out and shoot like 55 on the front 9?
Oh, dude,
well, $500 to go play against people that you don't have a chance against. Also, like it's not even fun at that point. You're just getting beat down, hole after hole, and just feeling awful about yourself towards the end.
I've seen fantasy football punishments where guys have to register for a Monday.
I've seen, like, or they have to like
or
try
like pre-qualifying, whatever's like around them.
Yeah,
and just like go fucking shoot like a $130. Ryan French tweets about it all the fucking time. There are guys like right around the end of the year, not like now because obviously once the PGA Tour season's like in full swing, it's very hard to like get on those events because there's actually guys trying to go for it. But, like in the fall, like guys will have before the season starts in like September or like right as starting September, October, the loser from the previous year will have to like go into for like a fall Monday.
But the problem, and I have a huge issue with that, and the reason why I have a huge issue, all those Mondays have wait lists.
Exactly, yeah.
And so like you actually have guys who are like me, who are like on like, you know, like me or like are on like their last chance, have like a year left or it's like a couple events left in their career to like get into a tournament. Like that's a real thing. And some guy who's in there for losing a fantasy football bet is about to shoot 130 and you're a legitimate pro. And you've shot 64 before, which means you do belong out there. Like it's just yeah. So in a long-winded answer, yes, technically you can enter as a pro, but you will soon be found out if you're not legit.
Yeah. Well, anyways, before I get into the start of the show, I do have to shout out our guys over at 47 Brand because the beauty of what's happening this week, of course, we have the greatest show on grass, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. But even more important than that, even more important than the golf and the fact that you're going to be watching these guys end on Sunday is what's happening right after what's going to happen at the conclusion of the Waste Management. The big game, Super Bowl 59, is this Sunday, and our partners over at 47 Brand have the best gear, literally the absolute top line best gear, best shirts I've ever worn, best hoodies I've ever worn, best hats I've ever worn, and they have an entire capsule dedicated to both the Chiefs and the Eagles, and you can get your hands on some awesome Super Bowl collection gear, the Stony Clover Lane X47 Super Bowl capsule collection, and of course everything you need for the big game. And you know what? Even if you aren't rooting for the Chiefs or the Eagles, like 98% of the country, you can get your hands on anything else that you're looking forward to at the 47 shop. Tons of stuff on sale. Liverpool FC's been going off. You can get in on their exclusive Liverpool collection. And if you're like me, their new golf capsule actually also has just came out. $40 a hat, pretty cool value. The Burr technology as well as some dry fit stuff. You can use our link in the description to shop everything related to the big game and beyond, and get free shipping on all orders with our partners over at 47 Brand. Again, free shipping on all orders when you use our link in our description on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you can get us. And gear up for the big game in New Orleans with our pals at 47 Brand and join the 47 Brand family today. Also want to shout out our guys over at Paramount Plus. Like I said, the Waste Management Phoenix Open is this weekend. It's the biggest party on the golf calendar. Do not miss a single second of the premier action with our guys at Paramount Plus. You can stream the Waste Management Phoenix Open live February 8th and 9th starting at 3 p.m. Eastern on both Saturday and Sunday with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan. Use our link in the description to sign up for Paramount Plus. with Showtime, so you don't miss any of the wild scenes from the Waste Management Phoenix Open. You might see Harry Higgs take his shirt off once again on Saturday, February 8th, and Sunday, February 9th. Get started today. Paramount Plus, it's where the good stuff happens. Let's get right into the bones of what we got today. Our leading story comes straight from the pen of Charley Hoffman. Sent a note out to the PGA Tour following Justin Thomas's note about a month ago, and he leaned into a lot of things that people have been talking about. Of course, if you watched the broadcast the last 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the final group with Sepp Straka at the Farmers took 5 hours and 29 minutes to complete. This following week, granted, very bad weather, really exhaustive winds. Hoffman penned a letter to the PGA Tour as he's now joining the PAC once again. Now, remember, Charley Hoffman, a 2-time leader of the PAC back in the early 2000s, is now joining on in an advisory role. He brought up a couple of points, and I kind of want to go through these sequentially. He first brought up, of course, slow play. Be ready when you can. Find ways in order to support not only yourself but also the broadcast. He had mentioned how, in Justin Thomas's note, of course, we should be leaning more into giving a better value and products for the broadcast teams in order to have more viewership, but it's also a two-way street. How can the broadcast team help you out? Voice your concerns, see how you can make things work, play golf in a timely manner, because at the end of the day, you can play practical golf within your shot clock limits and in the time span that you need. We don't need 5 hours to finish a round. He then proceeded to go on and talk about something that I think actually we haven't heard a lot of, and we mentioned this probably 2 months ago with the Bahamas Corn Ferry Tour event, right? With how guys with temporary status in PGA Tour are taking up more spots on the Corn Ferry Tour because they know it's more guaranteed starts. He made a point about the Aon Swing 5. Now, for those of you who don't know it, the Aon Swing 5, the 5 best players in the previous week who have not gotten on to the prior event can get an exemption into the next week's event. For the most part, this happens a lot more towards the latter part of the year, but it also qualifies now this year for signature events. He had noted that going into Pebble, only 2 of the 5 players had gained qualification to get into the event. The other 3 were alternates, but fell behind other alternates who didn't have the qualification. Why are guys missing out on that? He says, quote, guys spend more time on TGL, DP World Tour, the Race to Dubai, when they should really be focusing in on the PGA Tour events and making this the absolute best product. Like Justin said, we are owners in this league. We should be spending more time in this league and playing and giving shots to guys who deserve the opportunity to go out and play week in and week out. He also then, of course, mentioned that there's only 100 tour cards at the end of this year, so you should try to be making the most of it, and essentially calls out the PGA Tour for needing to do better. Ben, we missed you. I missed you last week, so I couldn't get your points on this, but in regards to slow play, we've talked about the shot clock and the need to figure things out. But Charley noted this week, Pebble Beach, 25-mile-an-hour winds. As conditions get harder, guys need more time. It's a more challenging playing field. What are the ways that we can make this tour better, aside from the shot clock, in terms of on course? We already know the off course stuff. We know we can lean more into things, as we've seen with TGL. But where does, in Charley's letter, he makes a lot of really strong points. Where are the strongest that you think can really make a difference in the tour's future?
Look, at the end of the day, I think both parties are at fault. And by both parties, I mean the tour and the players. To the best golfers in the world, it shouldn't be taking you 5.5 hours to play ever. And I understand, look, I did make a point to say last week that this is the one event, with the exception of the Open Championship, where the weather always sucks. Okay, yeah. We know this going in. At the end of the day, though, I find it funny how he says, and I love Charley Hoffman. I think he's great. I've always been a big fan of him. I feel like unless I was not understanding it or misinterpreting it, I felt like he was almost taking a shot at the guys who are willing to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour to get more starts, when it's strictly a business decision for them. And that's clearly the best route for them. because we've talked about this before, and you are better off going to the lower tour and getting 20 starts than you are and having a full card for next year potentially by finishing in the top 30 or 25 or whatever it is now, versus getting 7 or 8 at a higher level where you clearly won't have the same opportunities then, unless you win an event or unless you have like a serious hot streak where it's like second, fourth, okay, which will also get you into more events. I think that the PGA Tour at the end of the day, and I talked about this with a friend of mine who I'd like to get on the pod. He's also a professional golfer. His name's Tony Conaway. They need to do a PGA Tour 1A and 1B. And that's what he said, and I completely agree with it. Okay, because at the end of the day, a lot of these changes that the tour has made has been to appease 6 or 7 guys. I think that that's been established.
Yeah.
So we have these signature events, which have basically taken the place of like WGC events. Now, it's a little bit different because it's not really based off of world ranking points like the WGCs were, and strictly for like PGA Tour players now. You can't, play on the Sunshine Tour and be top 50 and get into the AT&T, whatever. At the end of the day, though, you have to understand that having these signature events, and I don't know what the PGA Tour budget is. And I said over dinner, I don't know if they could afford it, because clearly a couple of years ago they couldn't afford some things, which is why they ended up wanting to get into bed with LIV and the PIF.
Yeah.
If you could just have it like every single week, with the exception of majors, okay? Every single week you have a PGA Tour 1A, and it's like the Farmers, AT&T, Waste Management, Cognizant, Arnold Palmer, Players, whatever. And then that same week, a level below, almost like a AAA, is the equivalent of the Barbasol or the Barracuda or the Puerto Rico Open or the Punta Cana, even like, the fall events. Move those fall events up and make those the alternate field events. And that way guys actually get an off season. Because that's the one thing I think guys would really like, is to actually have an off season. And like, that's like my one gripe, as like every golfer will do this thing where it's like every golfer is a little bit different. They'll take time off at some point. Some guys will take time off in the summer. Some guys take time off after Q school. Some guys take time off, to start the year, whatever. But like, I think if you just had 9 straight months, okay, and it was 100 guys on 1A, 100 guys on 1B, and then everyone else is on Korn Ferry Tour. And by everyone else, I mean it's like whoever has a Korn Ferry Tour card or conditional status on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think that would be way better. You wouldn't actually be losing talent. You'd actually be gaining talent, because more guys would have status on the PGA Tour, I would think. You'd have full status, and then like, whatever the conditional is or whatever, because now it's top 100 keeps their cards, right? You could just say 101 to 200, you all have conditional. So you're all going to play, the alternate field events. I really don't think it's that difficult. And I think some of the things, I don't know if you saw the videos I sent you. Because I guess Lucas Glover has his own show now on Sirius XM. And I thought he made some very interesting points. He's like, we have guys in golf carts who don't need to be in golf carts at these events. They make players back off. Okay. We have, I understand like it's your tradition to have like kids with the signs and everything with the scores. Everyone's got a smartphone now. You can literally pull out your phone and see where Lucas Glover is, right? Do an Open Championship and have someone, have people on each hole designated to rake the bunkers, or just a raker in each group, 2 rakers in each group. Instead of having the kids carry the signs, have them be the designated rakers. Also, you have sponsors, whoever these people are, inside the ropes following the players.
Yeah.
They're not rules officials, They're not volunteers. They're literally like sponsors, and they don't know where to stand. I just gave you 3 or 4 things that would help guys. Because mind you, when you have a professional caddy, and Lucas said this, when you have a professional caddy raking the bunker, the player's on his own. Okay, so and then the caddy has to hurry up, and but he has to do a good job, obviously. If you have people, I think the more you can keep people out of the way when guys are getting ready to hit, because it sounds like, I haven't been to a tour event in a while, but it sounds like backing off shots is a real problem. And then, obviously also enforcing a rule that doesn't get enforced.
Yeah.
And me personally, Steve, I don't care if you get a minute, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 52 seconds. I don't care. But whatever it is, make it a hard line rule. And I do understand that, like, for me, it can be a little bit more tricky for me because generally I'm the longer one in the group when I play my events. Okay. And so I'm going to be 15 yards ahead of the person in front of me. Well, I can't just go up to my ball and, and stand right in front of the guy who's hitting the 4-iron over my head. I can't do that, right? So at the end of the day, like, there has to be a little bit of wiggle room there. But I think some of this stuff is just so trivial and almost like juvenile. And it's taken this long. Like Colt Knost on the golf.com podcast, I think it was. He was calling out the PGA Tour thing. I think he was calling out the PGA Tour, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. I remember back in 2013, I think it was, when Tiger won the Farmers. He won it by like 7 shots or 5 shots.
Mm-hmm.
He was bitching about pace of play then. And it's been an obvious issue. Kevin Na was one of the slowest golfers on the PGA Tour, to the point where fans were heckling him. And what did the tour do? I don't think they did a thing.
Nothing.
As far as I remember, I think it's, yes, guys on tour have to be better. But for people to sit there and be like, well, like, guys should like want to play on tour. Guys want to play on tour. You think those guys like want to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour and have to play those events? No. They have conditional status. They'd much rather be playing a PGA Tour event. But at the end of the day, when you cut cards by 20%, it's going to force people to make business decisions. And what's the best for my career right now? And for a lot of guys, it's going back to the Corn Ferry Tour, essentially. Like, because they have the upper hand. They're going to get more starts than the guy that finished 36th at Q School this year.
So you bring up a great point, and I think this is where people are starting to forget, or all right, let me backtrack. I think you're right and you're wrong in 2 different ways. One, I think you absolutely need to have more things and volunteers raking bunkers or doing all this stuff. I'll give you a prime example, right? The Ryder Cup is coming to Long Island. Do you know how many people volunteered or put in an application for the Ryder Cup? 300,000. 300,000, for the most part, men, Long Islanders, put in to be a volunteer at this event. Now, could you say that Long Island is golf crazy? Absolutely. I saw a guy golfing at Eisenhower Park today. It snowed yesterday. Maybe they're just fucking psycho. But you're not telling me that you can't get 1 or 2 people to go back and forth on each hole in groups, rake the bunker, when it only ever lands in the bunker maybe twice every 10 shots? Like, there has to be ways that you can get more volunteers involved, because also it grows the community, gets people involved. Why is it that every single year they play the Travelers, they play the Rocket Mortgage, they play these places? Because fans love it. The loudest event on tour almost every single year that isn't a major is the Travel Championship in the middle of fucking nowhere, Connecticut. But people flock to it from New York, from New Jersey, from Massachusetts, from upstate New York, from Maine. I have a friend who every single year, he lives in Orano, Maine, where the University of Maine is in the middle of nowhere. He literally will drive down to Cromwell, Connecticut and go to the event because he loves it. Like, people flock to this stuff. Why can't we get more volunteers involved? You give them some free gear. People flock over anything that's free for them. And to be able to say, oh, I walked with even a lower rated golfer, I went to the Northern Trust with Johnny in 2019. The 12, 13-year-old junior golfer, the girl who was walking with Patton Kizzire, was the happiest girl on earth. She's like, wow, I get to walk with a pro golfer. And he was the nicest guy on earth. He had fun with her. Like, it's things like that that make golf more fun, and it can shave that extra few minutes off of your time, not having to wait for your caddy 30 yards back, raking the bunker. And of course, like you said, has to do a good job because it's all courtesy. No, like, and even Charley Hoffman said it. What do you save? 3 or 4 extra minutes, maybe per guy, by limiting field events, by lowering cards? I get it. Yeah, cool. You have a 70-man event because it's the signature event and it's the biggest event and it brings in the most money, so you want the best talent and a no-cut field. Fine, it replaces the WGCs. There's also only 5 a year for the WGCs. This is like 9. Maybe it's a little bit too uneven. The problem, though, with the PGA Tour 1A and 1B, honestly, at this point, while I agree with you and they need more secondary events, the issue at hand is that viewership is down, A. So when you split viewership, who's going to watch 1A versus 1B, even if there is a good enough field in both? And then the sponsors. Who's going to sponsor the event? The thing is, and I'll let you answer quickly, but in the last 3 years, these are the following sponsors that have left their posts at tour events. Honda, who had been there for 8 years. Wells Fargo, who had been there for, I can't even tell you how long. Barbasol, Shriners, they literally just cut the event. They were like, oh, like Summerlin's great, but Shriners doesn't want to renew, so we're just going to chop the event. Zozo left, and now it's Bay Current as of next year. 40net left. This past year was Procore. RBC's contract for both the Canadian Open and the Heritage ends this year, and they're not going to resign. So who's going to take over the RBC Heritage? Who's going to take over the RBC Canadian? Like these are 2 big events. Actually, one of them, or maybe 2 of them, both of them are signature events. Who's going to take over for that? Farmers is leaving the Farmers Insurance Open after this year. They don't want to go back. And now they have an event in Myrtle Beach that hasn't had a sponsor in 2 years. Like, they can't even get someone to sponsor a secondary field event. You telling me you can't find a middle of the road company that's interested? You have ISCO Home Improvement. Tell me you can't find like Granger or another home improvement company, or maybe like Avos Paint wants to get involved. They want to rival Valspar. Like, there has to be somebody who's interested in getting interested in naming rights to a PGA Tour event. Wells Fargo, as KB just noted to me, they're getting rid of everything. I think they want to literally get rid of the naming rights to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Like they're just cutting ties with everything in sports because it isn't profitable anymore for anything. So to be able to get sponsors to flock to this event and give money towards it, I think it's a really tall ask. It might be even easier, honestly, to just bring up Korn Ferry Tour events and allow guys to get into it, have a certain number of PGA Tour players who could play a Korn Ferry Tour event. Now you're giving not only Korn Ferry Tour players television access, because now they're on this 1B, maybe the top 30, 40 guys on KFT, and you can take some of the events out of the Korn Ferry Tour and you can add into PGA Tour guys, and you can kind of split up the KFT, because then now you're really getting granular. You're getting smaller, and you're still making opportunities for guys in the lower levels to grow and basically sort of making Korn Ferry Tours AA a higher level of the KFT, which is kind of like a cross mix. Is your AAA, and then you go to the PGA Tour. I think that's kind of the best way to look at it.
So, number one, I want to just be clear. I know you understood what I was saying, but I want to make sure the public understands. I'm not saying we don't need volunteers, and I know you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that the only people we should be getting rid of at these events are the people who are walking with the group, who are just the sponsors, and they're not really doing anything. I didn't even know that was a thing until I heard what Lucas had to say, because they don't know where to stand. They don't have a job. They're just getting in the way, it sounds like. So,
but in addition to that, they do still need people to at least to help around. They have people that
no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, still having volunteers who could rake the bunkers, refill water, water coolers, whatever. I just want to make sure I was clear about that. Yes, we do need volunteers 100%. Great for the growth of the game. It's just that I think in some areas we could reassign them to a different task and then bring in volunteers to be, to rake bunkers, replace divots, whatever. Here's the thing. Most Korn Ferry Tour events are not televised. Okay. So it's not, I feel like they used to get more TV time way back in the day than they do now. The reason why I don't think it would be hard for the PGA Tour, you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about, because you wouldn't have to worry about TV time with those lower level events. Chances are the PGA Tour, if you have 1A, those events will either be on CBS or NBC. Those are like the predominant, or maybe even ESPN. Okay. But the PGA Tour is basically in bed with CBS. Okay. So a lot of those big events are on, like this past week, the AT&T Pebble Beach, that was on CBS with Jim Nantz. And then the secondary events, you have the Golf Channel. They could just televise those. And I'm sure they could work it out with the LPGA, because I don't believe I'm pretty sure the LPGA only plays on Golf Channel, with the exception of maybe the majors. But that's probably how it would work. I don't think finding a sponsor for a lower level PGA Tour event, for an alternate PGA Tour event, would be difficult at all, because we have 6 or 7 of them in the fall. And I think a lot of what it comes down to, with the exception, a lot of these larger companies now, like Wells Fargo, they don't need the exposure, because those companies are too big to fail. And at this point, they're just like, it's not really worth it for us. It's not like what it was, 10 years ago. So they don't really need pro sports now, because they're all over TV and their marketing campaigns are so strong. I do believe, though, that most of these issues, when it relates to the Farmers, the Shriners, Honda, a lot of it just comes down to money. I feel like most of these companies would love to be title sponsors to PGA Tour events, but again, the PGA Tour is probably asking for more money out of these corporations because of LIV and because of guys leaving, which is why these purse sizes went up. Yeah. Remember, it's not the tour that's paying these players at these events. It's the sponsors.
Which is also why the people to sponsor big time events need a lot of money.
But the thing is, those companies are just kind of like, well, we don't think it's that worth it then, so we're just going to leave. Yeah. I could totally see a situation where it's just like, instead of having, you can have Cognizant sponsor the event at PGA National. I could totally see Honda coming back and deciding to sponsor some alternate event in June somewhere, wherever it is. I could totally see a situation where the Shriners would come back and title sponsor an event. But at the end of the day, a lot of it has come down to money, I think, because we weren't seeing this much turnover in sponsorships for these events prior to LIV.
Yeah.
The only reason I believe that that's happening is because the PGA Tour is asking for more money, which is why those purse sizes were going up. And not very many companies will be willing to do that.
The only thing that I'll say to that, though, is that like Farmers is leaving. They haven't had a signature event. Honda left. They haven't had a signature event. I actually just read it.
Event though.
What?
I'm not saying that they have to have a signature event.
No, but like purse sizes are what, $9 million for those, but then you compare it to like, obviously RBC is going to leave $20 million on the table. Wells Fargo is going to leave $20 million. They have their own subset, but like even now, I just read that Sanderson Farm is getting out of their event. They had to have an agreement until 2026. They're opting out a year early, and they're like, "We'll pay you to leave." Like they're buying themselves out. I think it's also just more than money, and I think just companies don't find sports sponsorships profitable anymore across the board. But also at the same time, like what's more valuable to you for what a golf event, or like how Chase is the premier partner of Madison Square Garden? They're everywhere. Or how MetLife has MetLife Stadium. Like, I feel like a naming rights to a stadium almost is more valuable than a tour event that has declining viewership and no one's actually watching it week in and week out. But I think the point, progressing this forward, that you actually do make a really good point on is the idea of giving guys an offseason, pushing the fall events into the alternate field. Because let's be honest, who are the guys playing in the fall anyways? It's the guys who didn't qualify to get their tour card. So wouldn't it be easier for you instead of you fighting to go and try and play the Travelers?
An extra 3
or
months. Also, you're not playing an extra 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So give yourself an offseason. And wouldn't it be better if you're, let's pull a name out of that, Garrick Higo, who is going to be on the cuff again? Wouldn't it be better for you to go and play the RSM out in South Carolina or Georgia, wherever it is, instead of trying to qualify and get onto like the Charles Schwab or the Canadian Open or the Rocket Mortgage? Like, guys are going to play these events. Go play the other field event where the next best player in the field is going to be like Austin Smotherman. Like another guy who's going to be on your level, needs to fucking work to get his card for the following year. Not that every single week you're going to have to go and play Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele and Hideki Matsuyama and Syed Tagala. And guess what, dude? They could finish 30th, and they're probably going to end up getting their card because they're going to have a win or 2 or 3. I understand like how parity's gotten better in golf, but I even noticed it just now. We're talking in the pre-show. Only 8 guys have had a back-to-back top 10 at the Waste Management in the last 3 years. 8 guys in the entire field. Yes, anybody can win on any given week. Jake Knapp had the first round lead last week at Pebble. Very quickly lost it. It's incredibly hard to not only maintain a lead in golf, but to actually be able to thrust yourself forward and win the event is for 4 days of grueling conditions, especially like nowadays in the late winter where it's starting to get to like Pebbles and 25-degree winds. Apparently the weather in Phoenix is not very pretty this week. Next week's Torrey Pines going to be windy as all hell again. So like it's parity isn't going up. Guys still need to find other avenues in order to win events. And honestly, making a second league wouldn't be the worst idea. We've said it multiple times here on this show.
You were the first one to say it.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel like I say some dumb shit, but I also say some really smart things. With that being said, it is time for me to fall back on my demons. So Rory McIlroy won this week at Pebble Beach, and I promptly got yelled at by my fiance, actually not fiance, my wife, holy shit, who said, because we're watching it on Sunday, she goes, wow, Rory's going to win. Ben's going to make you look like an asshole tomorrow. Yes, Kay. Yes. I'm gonna make myself look like an asshole. So Rory won, and I want to take this moment quickly just to say that when I said last month that I wanted to see Rory hit a high or hit a low, I realized 2 things.
And admit it. Admit it.
Yeah. Well, that was he's never going to admit it. Just don't take the words literally on that. Anywho, I come to realize 2 things. One, actually, Rory McIlroy is an incredibly decorated golfer, and he deserves more respect. Has he had the success in the last, say, 10 years? I would still say no. And he even said it. He said it in an interview. I forgot where, but he has 3 goals for the rest of his career. He cannot win. He cannot win a regular season event for the rest of his life. He wants to win 1 major. He wants to win a away Ryder Cup one more time and get an Olympic medal. 2 of 3. He can do this year. And to be quite honest with you, after winning a Pebble, it's starting to make me think to a degree that I might put money on Rory McIlroy to win the Masters. But while he has not had the greatest success over the last 10 years as other guys have had in the same decade, Rory McIlroy showed everybody this week that this is the year that he finally gets things in motion. It might have been the best golf I've seen him play and the most aggressive golf I've seen him play in years. And for very good reason. Granted, Pebble Beach, very challenging winds. You could afford to take certain angles on certain shots, and he did. He was out driving guys 30, 40 yards, even without the wind, like wind to his face. And he was playing lights out golf. I haven't seen this from Rory McIlroy outside of when he used to get like backdoor top 5s in majors because in round 4 he would just fire pins at will just to try and climb the leaderboard. He's playing a style of golf, or at least did on Saturday and Sunday, that was far more aggressive than you've seen him play. And I know we've talked about it as a casual me and a pro you, how golfers aren't necessarily firing at pins to try and make it up the leaderboard. You're playing for par, and if you can get a few birdies at an eagle, that's great. At the end of the day, 4 under is better than 2 over, obviously. But also, it's better to play relaxed and safe, gather a few birdies rather than get aggressive and make mistakes. But the way Rory's playing is that he's playing aggressive, and it's working, and he's succeeding in doing it. I think that's the big differentiator that I haven't seen from Rory McIlroy in quite some time. And it's a really nice thing to see. And I'm hoping that this is just the start of a lot more good things to come for him. In his last 5 events, he's been absolutely lights out. Granted, a lot of those events have come in the UAE. I think he's played.
Oh, there we go. The backhanded compliments again. Oh my god.
No, but what I'm saying is that should we have seen this coming? He has last 4 events. He finished 4th at the HSBC in Abu Dhabi. He won the race to Dubai. He then finished 4th at the Dubai Desert Classic. Are they big time events? Are there good players in the field? Yeah, it's the best of the DP World Tour. Should we have seen this win coming? Maybe, considering this all happened in a 3-month period between December and now. But I'm hoping that I see more from Rory. And I will admit that, again, I didn't say I wanted him to die. I said I wanted him to play really well or play really bad. I'm hoping that the prior is what is happening.
Okay. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and make you look like a jackass for what you said a month ago. That's not what I'm going to do.
Hey, look, we all say dumb shit.
No, absolutely. I've said stupid stuff on here before, man. It's all good. That's why I always look. This is why I always say, if I'm talking about a player and I say, I don't think this player is going to play well, blah, 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 I would love for that player to prove me wrong, because that means that they're doing great. I would love for Jay Monahan just to figure it out, because that means that the game of golf is just skyrocket, right? Now, I don't think he's going to, but regardless, it makes me giggle how you still think in the past 10 years he hasn't achieved a lot. And I wish I had saved this Instagram reel, because it had the winning percentages, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I think in the past 10 years, he has a win percentage of 7.5%. Okay. Yeah. It's right around.
Which is really good.
That is one of the highest on tour. For reference, I think Phil was right around there in his heyday. Yeah. Phil was maybe a little higher. Okay. And that's a guy who won over 40 times. And I believe, how many majors?
Well, Rory's won what now? This is his 42nd, 43rd one?
Maybe. But I would say that's Ethan. He's good, but not good enough for Steve. It's 100% accurate.
I think he's great. I just don't think he's good enough for me.
Great. This guy, you flip flop like Kamala. This is amazing.
Whoa! Don't bring politics into this.
Oh man.
No, he's good, but he's not good enough for me. I think he can do better, and I expect more from him. And I expect him to win a major every year, and I expect him to win 3-4 times a year.
Shout out to Joel Klatt. He said that.
Let me ask you this. All right, here.
Let me say this. Okay. Rory did a lot of work this offseason on his swing. Okay. And I believe I heard a story. He was hitting indoors for 3 weeks, strictly going off of video and feel. And clearly it's paid off. His swing has its flow back. It looked very flowy. What people don't understand about Rory is he is one of the most gifted golfers we've ever seen. When Rory is on, he's unbeatable. Okay, because although he's not the biggest guy, I think he's 5'10". He's not the biggest person. He hits the snot of the golf ball. And when he's hitting fairways, that when you hit it that long and that straight, that's when you're able to take a lot of chances off the tee, because that is such an advantage when you hit it 327, like 20 yards past everyone else, and you're hitting the fairway.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's not that he was so aggressive into the greens, but it was that he was confident off the tee. It allowed him to be aggressive off the tee, which then left him with short irons and wedges. That's when you're supposed to go at pins. That's when those are green light scenarios. You're not going to see guys with 6 irons in their hands going at the pin unless they got to go birdie to get into a playoff or birdie to make the cut. So at the end of the day, I think Rory, given everything that went on last year, he's probably the most motivated golfer on the tour.
Agreed.
And I got to be completely honest with you. I would not be surprised if he went out and won of Augusta this year. I really would. I understand, like, he just won, and it was, look, no, he won by 2 shots. Okay, he didn't win by 8. Okay, but 3 golf courses in very difficult conditions at one of the strongest events of the year that is not a major.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. 21 under par, I believe it was. So at the end of the day, I do believe that Rory, number one, is one of the most decorated golfers on tour the last 10 years, despite not winning a major. And the numbers show, because of his win percentage. Men lie, women lie, stats don't. Okay, that's a fact. Stats do not lie. He's one of the most effective golfers on the PGA Tour, not just for ratings, but also just for performance in general. And while he is very streaky, because he'll have 4 events he'll have 4 months of just lights out golf. And then he'll have 2 or 3 months where it's just like, he's kind of figuring it out. He's not playing that great. And I do believe a lot of that is because it's a power game. And Dan Wingate, the guy that I told you about before, he said that. He said one of the reasons why you see so much ebb and flow in guys' games, where it's like Jason Day dominates for a year, Dustin Johnson dominates for a year and a half, Bryson DeChambeau dominates for 6 months. It's because it's such a power game now, and the faster you swing, the more the ball goes offline. When you have guys like that and they're hitting it 330 down the middle, the game becomes pretty easy, right? Because everyone's good with their wedges at that point. Everyone's a good putter. But when you're hitting it 330 and you're in the fairy bunker, you're in the rough, you're in the trees, everything else is marginalized at that point. You don't have that same advantage. There's a reason why Zach Johnson would have made $1.2 million more for all the fairways he's missed if he had dropped the ball 150 yards behind him in the fairway. A statistician told him that. That's a true story. I believe it was 125 or 150 yards. You could be, Zach, you're 80 yards out, but you're in the rough. Let's take it back to 200 yards. If you did that every single time, he would have made another $1.2 million in his career. And that's one of the best wedge players on the planet ever. So at the end of that probably is one of the reasons why we can see a lack of consistency with Rory. Just like we've seen a lack of consistency with Dustin, with Bryson, Brooks, Jason Day. It's because it's such a power game. And because when you have that much power, a lot of times your efficiency can dip. Yeah. Look at home run hitters, power guys. Pete Alonso, power hitter, efficiency. He's like this, right? It's the same thing in golf.
Let me ask you this final thing before we get off of Rory. Cam Newton was, I don't know, I think like Stephen A. Smith. He was asked if you can go back in time and you can replace your MVP with a Super Bowl. Now, remember, he obviously made the Super Bowl in 2015, won the MVP, lost Super Bowl. Would you trade your MVP for Super Bowl? And he said no. And everyone was like, kind of surprised. And I was listening on WFAN, and Tiki Barber gave his take. Cam basically said that he wouldn't give it up because at least winning the MVP, he knows that at one point he was the best player in the world at this given moment. Mm-hmm. And that solidifies him in history. And then he goes, well, Trent Dilfer's won majors, has won Super Bowl titles, and Brad Johnson has won Super Bowl titles, and like guys who Jim Plunkett won 2, and he's not even in the Hall of Fame. Like, I would rather win the MVP than win the Super Bowl. And Tiki Barber went back and said, I mean, look, like he has a good point. He makes a solid point, but also like you play to win the game. You play to have eternal glory and have a ring. And like guys don't grow up and say, oh, I'm gonna win MVPs. No, they grow up and say, oh, I'm gonna win the Super Bowl. It's why in your backyard when you're playing basketball and you're ticking down 3, 2, 1, shots up. Oh no, I add 3 more seconds to the clock. Like guys play for the shot, for the throw, for the touchdown, for the Super Bowl. Rory McIlroy can have all the wins he wants. Hasn't had a major in a decade. Play to win the majors.
You play to win, and he has been winning. So
you play to win the majors. You don't play to win the FedEx Cup.
How many majors has he won, Steve?
Enough.
4.
How many has Brooks Koepka won?
5. Congratulations.
Might win more. Like, majors maketh the man. Jack Nicklaus said it himself. Jack Nicklaus would trade every single regular season win he's ever had if he could exchange it for just 5 more majors. And he has the most. Imagine. Like that's the key, man. That's why I think Rory needs more. And you know what? Like second to that, yeah, a player change is pretty cool. It's the 5th major. A Ryder Cup is amazing. You get that's also like a total glory. It's like winning the World Cup in golf. But honestly, dude, the major make the man. Brooks Koepka said, hey, look, bro, if I win 3 more majors, I'm a top 10 golfer ever. Like, yeah, probably 8 majors. You're 5th all time. It's pretty fucking good. That's my whole point. And I think majors is the Super Bowl. MVPs is the FedEx Cup.
Awesome. So Rory's won 4 Super Bowls. That's pretty cool. Wait, Ethan, look up how many quarterbacks have won exactly 4 Super Bowls. Please.
3. Maybe 4. I think Mahomes is 4.
I think he has 4.
What I'm saying is, though, you look at the guys who have major championship titles.
Only one. Terry Bradshaw.
Has won 4 Super Bowls?
Exactly 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well.
Yeah, you want more than 4?
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
I said exactly 4 because that's how many.
Yeah, you could toss Tom Brady in there. You know.
Okay.
Yeah,
but like
again, but here's the thing: at the end of the day, he wins the Masters. He has the career Grand Slam. Not very many people can say they have that.
That's different, though. That's different.
At the end of the day, these are just his goals. He has these specific goals, like the career Grand Slam, and for him to do it at Augusta 15 years after the debacle that was, which kept him from winning. I think I'm totally
with you.
That is a storybook career. The issue I have with Rory's past wins, I wouldn't even call it an issue. It's just really something to point out. He wins those majors going away. He wins those majors by 6 shots, 7 shots, 8 shots. It's not coming down to the 18th hole.
Yeah.
And so for him, I think, look, I still believe to this day, the past 10 years, he's one of the most successful golfers on the planet. You can't deny the stats. You can poo-poo it all you want. I guess you don't like numbers. Fine. But at the end of the day, if the guy wins another major, that's 5 majors. Ethan, how many guys have 5 majors or more?
That was going to be my rebuttal. There's a lot of guys who have a lot of majors.
No.
But
no. How many guys have 5 or more? Not a lot. Not a lot.
7?
There
8?
Are, if it loads,
8.
15.
15. In the entire history of golf, 15. He could be the 16th.
Pretty good list.
Yeah.
Pretty good list, but I'm talking in the last decade to have not won a single one.
Okay. Oh, please. In the past decade. Since 2000.
Well, he's won all of them since 2000, obviously.
Okay, you moron. I'm talking about, like, you take in Tiger, Brooks, whatever.
Not for nothing, dude. From 2012 to 2017, he was, or actually, honestly, he's been a top 3 golfer in the world every single year he's played golf. I don't think that's a exaggeration of any story. You tell me you can't win a major in 10 years?
What are you talking about?
Rory McIlroy, the reason why I don't think he is as good for me, he's a great golfer, illustrious career. He can never win again. He's probably a top 10 golfer forever. On the acumen, the wins, the majors, the Ryder Cup victories, particularly winning them away. I just don't think that if you can't win a major in a decade when you're a top 5 golfer in the world every single year, you've stepped on grass, and you can win a event outright every single time you haven't won a major in a decade. I think that's shocking to me.
Your argument's so all over the place because you're saying the last 10 years have been a wash. Meanwhile, you're saying every year he's been a top 5 golfer on tour. You can't be a top 5 golfer and say it's been a wash. That doesn't make any sense.
Regardless of wins, his acumen and his ability, he should be a top 5 golfer in the world. And he's been that from the rankings. Yeah. But he hasn't won a major. And majors make the champions.
Oh,
the eternal glory.
Majors. I don't know, man.
We're debating it in the NFL.
You're acting like winning a major is as
shouldn't
easy as doing an Easter egg hunt when you're 4 years old. Like it's a tall task. We got to go to break.
For a top 5 golfer in the world, I don't think it should be as tall of a task. I understand it is incredibly hard to win a major, and I give him all the credit in the world. KB gets me. You need to win a major in 10 years if you truly are one of the 5 greatest golfers ever. And you know what? There are very few quarterbacks to have only ever won 2 Super Bowls, right? 3 of the 10 aren't in the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm going to say. Just because you have 4 majors and you're one of 15 guys to have those doesn't make you a top 5 player ever. And Rory McIlroy, for the player that he's been,
he's a top 5 player.
But since he started his career, he should be, or is on the trajectory to be, a top 10 golfer ever. Jordan Spieth was the same way. In a 3-year clip, the guy could have been the greatest player ever, but he fell off. That's how I'm feeling. I apologize to Rory McIlroy, though, because you are a good golfer and you are decorated, and I have you right now to win the Masters. So go fuck it. This episode of Get in the Hole is brought to you by our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the industry. Founded on Long Island and rep by some of the biggest personalities in sports, including Chris Hogan, Kyle Harrison, John Jay, and Paige Spiranek, Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to keep you looking fresh from the first hole to the 18th green and, of course, the 19th hole as well. Head to TomahawkShades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store or Google Play Store and browse their selection of sunglasses, blue light plus glasses, and prescription lenses, and be sure to use code USP for 25% off your next order at TomahawkShades.com. Okay, I have unwound, I have decompressed, I have taken a sip of water. I am ready to get into the second half of the show because we are so far in so deep in this show. Let's get into some shout-outs presented by Acorn Hills. Oh, man. I can't speak more to Rory McIlroy, but the one thing that I can say is I hope to God he finds himself wearing Acorn Hills one of these days. Changing clothing through conservation started out of a dorm room in Western Pennsylvania. Acorn Hills is dedicated to supporting environmental efforts by offering biodegradable clothing tags and packaging, recycled materials, and of course, for every single purchase, a seedling will be planted from the National Forest Foundation to promote afforestation across this great land, especially during the California wildfires. They are working diligently in order to support you and support conservation movements all across the country. Be sure to get in on the action. Grab some apparel from quarter zips to polos, hats, and ball markers at acornhillsco.com and use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order and look your best from the ground up. We started off with some shout outs, and maybe the coolest shout out that I will ever give. My wannabe lookalike, Shane Lowry, This guy actually may have the holy trinity of aces. This is it's a stat that, first of all, was actually really interesting. I didn't realize Rory dunked a hole-in-one at Spyglass, only a second in his career. I found that really interesting. I feel like golfers, there's more aces than you think in a given season. There's like 40 a year usually, which is about one per event. I was surprised to know that only Rory that Rory only had 2. Also surprised to know that Shane Lowry in his like 15-year career has only had 3. But they've all come at maybe the greatest golf courses of all time. The 16th at Augusta, the 17th at Sawgrass, and now the 7th at Pebble. Like, can you name me a better par 3 to get an ace on than those 3? There's probably very few.
17 at TPC Sawgrass.
He has one there.
Oh, whoops. 16 at Scottsdale.
Yeah, the only other ones I could think of would be Scottsdale and like the postage stamp at Troon. I don't know many others.
The U.S. Open, it's tough just because they play a different course every year.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, the only ace better than 16 at Augusta is probably 12, just because it's so hard to do.
Well, 12. So the issue with 12, the trees there are so high. When you get into that kind of when you get into Amen Corner, it gets really tough because those trees are so tall, and so the wind will swirl. And
exactly.
So the issue is what you're feeling when you're on the tee box or in the fairway versus what is going on up there is 2 completely different things. And that's why it's so important to understand, if I'm going to hit the ball above the trees, I got to go with what's going on up there. If I'm going to hit the ball below the trees where I am, I've got to hit the ball in relation to what the wind's doing down here. They're 2 completely different things. So because the wind's going to swirl nonstop.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important just to stick to what the predominant wind direction is that day. If it's a northwest wind, it ain't going to chances are, unless there's a storm, it ain't going to change. You just got to trust it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. There's my pro sense for you.
I appreciate that. You know, you're giving more added value than the PGA Tour is giving on any given weekend.
Put on a quote card.
Majors make it man. Majors make it man.
Whatever.
Putting on a fucking t-shirt. Ben, are you reading?
Yeah, I'm looking at the notes. Why?
We're doing our shout-outs.
Right now?
Yeah, you read next.
Whoops.
It's okay, handsome. You're still cute to me.
Sorry. Wait a minute. Wait a
minute. She said I was finished.
Scrapping A2?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
We don't have time.
All right, I was excited for that, but okay.
All right, well, we'll bring it up soon.
Because I had notes on other guys to watch. That's why. So yeah.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. All right, we'll do it next.
Shout out Jason Day. Pulled up to Pebble Beach on Sunday in a full gray sweatsuit, totting the line between athleisure and 7 a.m. trip to the airport. What do you think? I don't mind it. I don't care. I think if he's comfortable, it's golf attire. It fits his style. If you have a problem with it, you're probably one of the old heads that doesn't like hoodies on the golf course, and that just makes you stuck up and annoying. So, Steve, I think you agree with me on that.
I think it's so funny that this guy pulled up one of the greatest golf courses ever wearing literally a graphic.
Mm-hmm.
He literally wore a sweatshirt and joggers. I guarantee you now, I'm gonna go play at fucking Bergen, and I'm gonna show up in a sweatsuit, and the starter's gonna yell at me, and I'm gonna be like, "Well, fucking Jason Day wore it." Like, fuck you, dude.
You're not Jason Day, obviously.
Look, I'm all for cozy season, bro. I'm personally a firm believer of shorts on the golf course, and I believe the PGA Tour should move to that. I got made fun of by a coworker because I'm the only guy in the office who wears shorts in the summer. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show some calf because I'm going to the golf course after work. I'm not wearing pants. Fuck that shit. Also, I sweat a lot. So having shorts makes me breathe a little more. Like, what fucking makes you comfy, man? Let the calves breathe. I'm all in on it. Shout out to LIVGolf. This is probably one of the smartest things they've ever done. And I think they could have only done it by getting rid of Greg Norman. Their first event of the year is going to come in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Of course, they're 8 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast of America. What does that mean? They have opted to play all 3 rounds this weekend under the lights, night golf. I love it. Also, my petition, we need more lights on golf courses.
I think it's a great idea. Well, the good thing is it allows people in the U.S. to be able to follow along and actually watch the event. That's the whole reason that they're doing it. Not just the cool factor, but for viewership, which I think part of that, I think Fox might have had a little bit of a say in that. Wouldn't be surprised, that they're like, hey, if we're going to do this and your product hasn't been good, maybe this is a good idea. One of the most successful TV companies ever. So wouldn't be surprised if they put their 2 cents into that. But no, I think it's great. I will say the hardest thing when you're hitting at night, because I've done it before, because there's a range here called the Park that has lights on the range. It's very difficult. Depth perception and reading putts is incredibly difficult, even when the sun's going down. I remember in the college event, it was at Country Club of Spartanburg. It was Wofford's tournament. It was 36 on the first day. And I had 4 feet on the final hole for par. This putt broke like 2.5 cups from 4 feet. And thank God, I mean, I made it dead center like a champ, but I couldn't see a damn thing. And I had to bring my coach in. I was like, dude, I can't read this thing. Like, you got to help me out here. Like, everything looks flat. Everything looks flat right now. But no, I think it's great. And I think it's going to be, I think it brings an element of fun, a factor of fun for the guys playing, and also kind of a lot of intrigue because it's like, it's pretty interesting, kind of badass, like golf under the lights. That's pretty cool. I've been saying that they need to put lights on the range at Ibis because I'm like, we have the tennis courts and pickleball courts lit up. Why don't we have the range lit up? Have them turn off at 8:30, whatever. Anyway,
no, golf under the lights is fucking lit. We need more of that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the driving range at night with the boys. Are you kidding me?
Also, top 5 coolest thing is like you're hitting on the range and it's like it's only light by you. And just seeing the ball fade into the distance.
It's like you're just disintegrating golf balls into the night sky.
It's sick. That and watching guys just jack home runs in the middle of the night. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because there's just enough contrast between the white ball and the black sky. Like there's just enough, and it just fades into the distance.
Ben's an artist. In case you didn't know.
Me?
Yeah, you're a real artist.
I am an artist, actually.
There's enough contrast between those 2 things. All right, next up.
All right, whatever.
I made a joke and it flew over your head, but anyways.
No, it's because it was a bad joke.
Apparently.
Birthday shout-outs. One of the golf greats, Byron Nelson, born February 4th in 1912 in Texas. Brian Nelson quickly became one of the best golfers in the game, winning 3 majors, a Ryder Cup, and 17 times before the age of 30. Nelson ended his career early to become a rancher, but finished as a 52-time PGA Tour winner with 5 major championships.
Did Rory McIlroy win 17 times before he turned 30? Probably did.
You're an absolute moron if you think the talent level back then was the same as it is now.
Byron Nelson's also regarded as like a top 5 golfer ever, and he has 3 majors. So he's the ultimate counterpoint to me saying anything about Rory McIlroy.
Did you just say a top what golfer?
Top 10 golfer?
No, you didn't say top 10.
It's the top 5. Meant top 10.
No, yeah. No, sorry. You said top 5. He's not a top 5 golfer of all time. He's not.
It's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, he is one of the all-time greats. But the talent disparity between the 40s and 50s compared to the 2000s, 2010s.
Oh yeah.
Joke.
Actually, I read something cool. He was born in a 7-month period. Him, Sam Snead, and somebody else were all born.
Ben Hogan?
Walter Hagen? Yeah, Walter Hagen.
Ben Hogan? I think it's
Walter Hagen. But that's really
right.
cool. Like 3 all-time greats born within 7 months, all playing together. Like that was peak golf at that point. That was sick.
Yeah. And Colin Morikawa, February 6th. He's one of 4 golfers to win 2 majors before the age of 26. Rory, Tiger, Jack. Only player to win 2 majors in his first 2 attempts. The Open and the PGA Championship. Pretty cool dude. Turns 27. He turns 27 in 3 days. What did you say? in the notes.
Actually, Colin Morikawa turns I think a little older than 27. I think he's 27 now. He turns 28. No, somebody else turns 27 that day, and you're fucking looking at him. What's up? I share a birthday with Colin Morikawa. New thing I learned this week. Fucking sick. Ben wasn't gonna give me a gift, Ethan. That's fucked up.
That's messed up.
I
Happy
didn't
birthday.
even know that it was.
Happy
I didn't even know
birthday.
that it was your birthday. And just so the audience knows, before they say that I'm some selfish person for not getting Steve a gift, I asked him like 5 times, "Hey, can you please send me your registrar link so I can send you a gift for your wedding?" Never got it. So I'm always thinking about him. Don't you worry.
I think the registry actually closed, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
with you.
I'm sure now it did. I asked you before your wedding. Hey, can you
Look.
send me the thing?
Let's put it this way, Ben. I know your birthday and you don't know mine. So
Yeah, sometimes I just like to once the show's over and I've had 2 hours of you, I just like to just be like, okay, there goes Steve fading into the distance like a golf ball at night. There he goes.
that's called a callback right there. I'm proud of you, Ben. You're becoming a podcaster as we know it. Only took you a year and a half.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm a better podcaster than you because the camera. I have a face for a camera. You have a face for a radio. So, and I didn't say that. His grandfather said it, which means it's definitely true. Let's keep the show rolling, okay?
Wow, just fucking light me on fucking fire and throw me into the fire. It's horrible. Anyways, wow. So over the last 5 weeks, by the way, that was our shout outs brought to you by Acorn Hills. I will not be sending a gift to Ben on his birthday on April 23rd. That's for shit sure.
I don't care. I don't want a gift.
That's totally fine because you're not gonna get one. It's funny. I bought Ben a mic and he still hasn't used it to this day. It's been over a year, all because you can't fucking get the little dongle off Amazon.
You told me you were gonna get it for me. You were like,
I'm not a bank. Do I look like a bank to you?
Ethan, when someone says, I'm going to get you something that will make it work, what do you think is going to happen? That they're going to get it for you, right? Isn't that just
You would think.
I guess that they just don't teach.
I said it in absolute jest because you can't go to the store on a day off.
Teach logic.
Buy a dongle for $4.
You could just go right to like CVS probably and get one.
Thank you.
Like it wouldn't be that bad.
I mean, this guy, just the lack of logic and common sense, 5 years or however long you were in college clearly didn't pay for it. I mean, my goodness gracious.
Wow. Now we're questioning my education. Damn. Ben went to school to play golf, not play school.
I still got a degree in finance. It's not like I was.
Congratulations. You're never going to use it.
I could if I had to.
If you had to.
There you go. See.
So over the last 5 weeks, first 5 weeks of the year, we've had some pretty big names win events. It's funny because like you look at last year, the first 5 winners compared to this year, it's a very different list. Within the first 5 weeks of the year, we had an amateur. We had Grayson Murray who flip flopped a lot in his career. And Jake Knapp won as a rookie. Matthew Pavon won his first time on tour. And yet, every single win we've had in the last 5 weeks have all come from multi-time winners. Nick Taylor, Hideki Matsuyama, Sepp Straka, Harris English, and now Rory McIlroy. Is this the year we see those multi-winners come back into the limelight and win more, or do you think it's going to be in a similar situation? Over the last 3 years, we've seen a much bigger rise in first-time winners. But of course, also mixed in with that, Scotty won 7 times. He won 5 times the year prior to that. Patrick Cantlay won 3 times. Andrew Schauffele won 3 times. You have a ton of those winners. But are we going to see in a much larger scale multi-time winners winning compared to first-time winners this year based on what we've seen the last 5 weeks?
I mean, look, it wouldn't be surprising. I think the important thing to note, now granted, this is only one of those 4 players. Harris English was not really playing the greatest golf as far as
injuries.
Yeah, he had a lot of injuries, so it's really great to see him win again because that guy hits the snot of the golf ball, and he actually is one of the pure swings on tour. I would not be surprised though. I think last year, to be completely honest, all the parity and everything that was going on, with a lot of first-time winners, no-name guys he just hadn't heard of, who were just out of nowhere winning tour events. I think it was probably a wake-up call to a lot of those other tour players who, to be completely honest, kind of underperformed last year. Look, at the end of the day, like we've talked about this just nonstop, but the first 5 months, Rory didn't play that well. Jordan Spieth didn't have a good year. Look, like Max Homa, I would add him to the question marks tab. Obviously we have Hovland for, because your swing coach and struggled last year. Zalatoris, his health. Spieth, same thing, injuries. Even, throwing Max Homa in there. He's got a new swing coach. He's working with a guy at Congressional now, I think. They talked about he like lengthened his swing now and whatever. Even I don't think Hideki. Now, while Hideki finished very strong last year, for the majority of the year, he didn't play like the Hideki that we were accustomed to seeing, right? And so I do think last year,
I think he won twice. If I'm not wrong.
Not during. Well, yeah, at the end of the year though.
No, he won. No, he won the Genesis and the FedEx St. Jude.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
See, Ethan, can you fact check that?
Fact check me, Ethan.
Oh, what was that?
Hideki Matsuyama. He won the Genesis and the FedEx St. Jude last year, correct? But to your point, also, real quick to kind of extrapolate, first 5 winners last year: Chris Kirk, Grayson Murray, Nick Dunlap, who was an amateur, Matthew Pavon, and then Wyndham Clark in that Mickey Mouse win at Pebble. Like, crazy parody.
Yeah.
But proceed. You were saying something.
No, look, I just think at the end of the day, that last year was seriously a wake-up call to a lot of those stars who weren't performing like stars early on last year. And I do think now we're going to see kind of like the old PGA Tour, just with potential different faces. And so who knows? Maybe we have a couple of those first-timers last year, guys you hadn't heard of. Maybe they just end up continuing to win a couple times every year, and they are able to kind of shoehorn themselves into the upper echelon of the tour with Rory or, Scotty or Xander. Obviously, Scotty and Xander are like way up here, but you know what I mean? Like that.
They can shoehorn themselves.
Steve, you are like the biggest fucking pain in the ass tonight. Just shut up.
Ben, my job is to piss you off.
Yeah, and you just sit here and you're gonna ride this Rory thing until the legs fall off.
Stop.
No, you are. This is like what you do. Like, you're wrong. And
I literally just spent $25 of my own dollars on Sunday betting on this man with the Masters. Like, come on.
Gosh, well, you're an idiot then. That's
good money, bro. Plus 2,000.
Oh my god.
I'll take a fat wad of cash when he walks off in the green jacket. I'll be all over that. Yeah, bro. He won the Genesis, the FedEx St. Jude, and the AT&T. Which AT&T? Ethan? Was it Byron Nelson?
The Pebble Beach.
No, Wyndham Clark won that last year.
Yeah.
2 years ago? Heck? It's okay. I know for a fact that he did win the Genesis and the FedEx.
Nah, well, I was wrong about Hideki, but I was right about everybody else. So
I think that there are this actually might be the year. You're right. I think a wake-up call was certainly in the cards. I think also the movement with LIVGolf too. There were still guys obviously still moving. But also like last year just showed a lot of first-time winners. Maybe it's luck of the draw. Maybe it's the way the field just kind of turned out and you got really good 1 week. Like I don't think Jake Knapp has really returned to the level that we saw that 1 week. Same thing happened a couple of years ago with like Taylor Montgomery. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate. He had won twice in a year and then just kind of fell off. Austin Eckroat had a win early in the year. I think the Taylor won last year at this event at the Waste Management. But I'm curious to see who does end up coming out on top and seeing those recent multi-time winners. Jordan Spieth could really use a win. He finished outside of the top 50, so he missed out on the FedEx Cup playoffs. Minwoo Lee has yet to get a win. We're also still looking for wins from Cameron Young, Tommy Fleetwood. Those two names are going to be iced in the veins of this show forever with how often we bet on them. Zalatoris was battling his back injury. We're looking to see what Victor Hovland can do. He obviously said last week that his short game just sucks again. So we'll see where he comes back. Like you said, Max Homa, I think, fits really well. Scotty will win. Xander will win. I think Colin will probably win at some juncture. It's only a matter of time for that to happen. But other guys who are like underrated, under the radar, guys who have been playing really well so far this year, and like Russell Henley, he could very well for the last 16 weeks probably has been a top 10 golfer in the world, and no one knows who he is. He has top 10s. He's finished top 10 and top 5 in the last 2 events. He has 8 top 10s in his last 16 events. So like literally at a half clip, you're finishing top 10 is incredible, particularly when that includes playoff events. Shane Lowry finished second at Pebble. This is the last time he finished top 10 at Pebble Beach. He ended up finishing top 5 in most majors that year. He didn't win the Claret Jug, but that was the year after that. Cam Davis has been on fire. He's currently tops of the FedEx Cup standings. He's like 5th or 6th right now. He has three out of 4 top 10s to start the year. Taylor Pendrick's been on fire too, back-to-back top 10s. The Farmers in Pebble. I'm going to mention him later in the show. Spoiler alert, but like Andrew Novak, like a really crazy, surprising year. Has been a very middle of the road golfer. I believe he went to, I think, Wofford, if I'm not wrong. Has back-to-back top 20s at Pebble and the Farmers. Sorry, top 10s. Could very well be a good start for Andrew Novak, looking to get his first win. But lots of multi-time winners who have a chance to reclamate themselves, particularly now, as Charley Hoffman said, 100 cards going out this year. Ricky Fowler's got to get on the horse. Jordan Spieth's got to get on the horse. Guys got to really turn their careers around, essentially, or suffer a fate of having to fight in the fall. So, the biggest party on grass returns this week, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Personally, my favorite event of the year, not just because it falls on my birthday weekend, and I believe my 30th birthday, I am destined to go to that event. That's like my age 30 like goal for my birthday is just to get a group of guys out to Scottsdale and go to the event. But lots on the line this week. A very loaded event. Scotty Scheffler comes back for his second event of the year. Justin Thomas will make his debut this week, as well as a bunch of others. Some injury updates and some news going into the week. Ludwig Oberg still battling the flu. He is a questionable play this week, as well as Xander Schauffele and Akshay Bhatia are both questionable to play. Otherwise, nothing else really in the setup. But I wanted to go back and forth with you, Ben. I think this is a fun little like segment that we can do.
Great.
The Waste Management is always apt to some very crazy and exorbitant situations and events. Let's go back and forth. I want you to give me 3 things, kind of like secondary to beer money, right? 3 things you think will happen at the Waste Management, whether on course or off course, and we will rate them and see who gets more right. And it'll be a fun little segment. It could be literally anything that happens this week.
Does this count towards beer money?
No, but it's something stupid to keep track of. Who's going to fall on their ass in the mud on social media or get too drunk and fall off the stanchion at 16? Very well might happen. I think it's happened twice already.
Last year, I remember there was a rather large individual who was doing basically made a makeshift water slide out of just grass and mud. Now, granted, I don't know if it's going to be rainy in Scottsdale this year, but if it is, I would say there's a great possibility of that happening. So I did hear, though, that they're actually going to limit the amount of alcohol there.
Well, they ran out last year.
Yeah.
They literally ran out of booze. I'm like, how do you do this? Weather actually seems to be pretty good the whole week, roughly 78 and cloudy for the most part. So not a whole big chance for a win.
I say we're probably gonna have a streaker.
Hope so.
Of course, you would hope that.
It's just more fun that way.
What?
It's just more fun that way.
Yeah. Okay. I would say. Oh man. I wonder if you know what I'm going to say there are going to be at least 2 verbal 2 dialogues, we could say, between player and spectator this week.
I love that. I love that.
At least 2, because I can only think of 2 that happened last year. It was Billy Horschel and Zach Johnson. And I love both of those guys. They're great. Like, they're great. It's just like I think Billy told someone to shut the fuck up last year. Because somehow I told you to shut the fuck up earlier in the show.
Zach Johnson, actually, I think he ran into somebody else a couple weeks ago, I think. If I'm not wrong, at the Amex. I think someone like heckled him for the Ryder Cup, and his caddy got involved.
I mean, you were heckling Zach Johnson over text, I remember, during that Ryder Cup in our group chat, and I was like, okay, Steve.
Should have bought on Akshay Bhatia and Keegan Bradley. Don't worry, they'll be on the team this year.
Great.
Now, what do I want to see? I do think that even if they're going to limit consumption, they're still going to manage to run out of booze. I think that'll be like the storyline of the entire event. That like this place gathers 80,000 people in a desert. I think they can. They always oversell. 16 is going to be absolutely crazy. It's happened before. It's happened a few times. I think it happened twice a couple of years ago. Sam Ryder had an ace and somebody else did. I think there's going to be another ace at 16 in that place. That like the stands might fall. Like people, like it will shake, and there will be an earthquake registered in South Arizona, and the stadium hole will just fall to pieces. I think that will be absolutely insane. And there's going to be at least one instance of someone either falling off of the stanchion or at least probably my over-under is 4.5 of Twitter videos or Instagram videos of people falling on like hills at the golf course. It's like a guarantee at this point for me. I think it's going to happen. Let's get into beer money as we wrap the show up. Brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer. Guess what? I've been saying it the whole year. Kenny Gainwell, anytime touchdown in the Super Bowl. Let's make it happen. And if that happens, Kenwood Beer is probably going to give away a lot of freaking beer. But before the game, you can get your hands on the best light beer in America. I managed to get my hands on some light beer, some light Kenwood beer. A friend of mine came from Jersey. We went to a cabin over the weekend, and we managed to do some good stuff. And brought a lot of guys to the light of how good Kenwood beer is. Also goes really good with any sort of like chili that you're like making. It's actually delicious. Kenny's the routine choice of folks who want a balanced, flavorful, no frills beer that is right for any occasion. Only 120 calories, 8 grams of carbs. Some call it the best light beer they've ever had. We just say you can't beat the original. Head to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny Tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice cold, refreshing Kenwood beer from your favorite liquor stores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. It's creeping oh so close to New York. There's a place in Jersey City, and I'm waiting for a day to muster up the courage to take the path and go to the liquor store just to get beer. The most degenerate thing I could probably ever do. Must be 21 years or older to consume, and of course, please drink responsibly, and of course, gamble responsibly. As we lead off our top 20 picks at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Ben, the floor is yours. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Akshay Bhatia for a top 20. I think this court, I think the environment, he always just seems so happy. And he always just seems so happy to be out there. And I think if anyone could be happy to be in an environment that is not great for one's concentration, I feel like it's him, because I've never seen him pissed off or upset, if that makes any sense at all. I think a lot of this week is just who has the head to handle what's about to get thrown at them, because there's going to be a lot of shit that gets thrown at these guys. So I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't make this an elevated event, because there's been talk that guys just like don't like playing here for obvious reasons. And the only way to get guys to go, in my mind, would be to make it an elevated event, because then they have to go unless they want to make it their one skip. But no, I'm going to go with Akshay. I think he's always in such a good mood, and I just think he has the mental ability to just handle whatever is thrown at him. So, yeah.
I think it's actually really interesting that in the 2 years they've had signature events, they have not made a signature event at this event, which I think is a
no. I thought it was 1 year.
I think it might have been the first year.
I think it was.
This past two, it hasn't been. And I know they were trying to like mix in and out certain events to be signature events, but this is a can't miss spot. And like Waste Management has like they have probably the most coveted sponsorship in all of golf that isn't maybe RBC and the probably the playoff events because they bring in a shit ton of money. Like they're way in on how good this is. Top 20 for me. I'm gonna go with Jordan Spieth. It's a surprise that I haven't taken Jordan Spieth in probably like 9 months on the show. But since 2015, he's the only player in the field to have top 10s in 5 of his last 8 tries. You can get him at a handsome plus 220 at some sports books. I know KB is in the back, like mouth watering, getting ready to hammer Jordan Spieth top 20s. I'm all in on it. Top 10, who you got?
I'm going to go with Sahith Theegala. He's had success here, so I feel comfortable. He knows how to handle this environment. So, yeah, I'll go with Sahith Theegala.
I am with you on Sahith Theegala for a top 10. I think it's a home run. He finished rather well, I believe, last year, and he has a good track record at this golf course. Another really good value. You can get him at plus 320 for Sahith Theegala top 10. Your top 5.
I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama. Finished last year strong, and then got started off the year very strong as well in Maui. I prefer guys when they're playing a course like this, an environment like this, who has had success, because this is not an environment for everyone. This is not a typical tour event, and clearly he's had success here. So I'm going to go with Hideki for a top 5.
Top 5 for me. Only guy in the field to have back-to-back top 5s at this event over the last 2 years. He had 3 missed cuts and then finally turned it on and figured out to a 6th and 5th place finish. And like you said, it's going to be guys who have the head for this, the guys who can handle the bright lights. This guy was known back in college as being the guy who went hunting, fishing, and loving every day, as Luke Bryan once said. Sam Burns, the LSU Tiger, top 5. Your gimme pick.
I'm going with Ricky Fowler for a top 40 finish. I just don't really know where his game's at. I don't trust him enough to finish top 20 or top 25. I really don't. For as great of a renaissance year as he had 2 years ago, last year was just a lot of blah. And so I feel like, look, he's a past champion at this event. He's a fan favorite, so he'll definitely have the crowd on his side. Everyone loves him. And so I do think that positive energy could definitely steer him in the right direction. So I'll go top 40.
Not bad. Some pretty low odds there, though, at minus 150. But you know what? You're still getting some decent return. I'm actually going to go. I'm shocked to know that this is almost even money. It's minus 120, which at that point is basically even. And it's going to end up juicing upwards. Andrew Novak for a top 30. Now, I mentioned him earlier in the show. He finished solo 3rd at the Farmers, 13th at Pebble. He finished 8th at this event last year in his debut. And that was also like among a leaderboard with Sam Burns, Sahith Theegala, Scotty Scheffler, all names that we've had heard many a times on this show in the past. I really like Andrew Novak as my gimme pick this week for a top 30 after coming off of 2 really challenging golf courses, really tough conditions. To come somewhere that's a little bit easier to play, he doesn't hit the ball really far. You don't need that necessarily to have success here. So I'm going to go with Andrew Novak. Your winner at the waist.
Past champion, plus 300. Scotty Scheffler.
I've never in my entire life seen somebody be minus 700 for a top 20. Ever. That's nuts. It's a fucking layup pick. Whatever. I was saying this in the pre-show. There's like 5 guys who could realistically win this event based on the course history and how often they've played here. And ironically enough, one of them happens to be Jordan Spieth. The other 2, one of the other 3 happens to be Scotty Scheffler, obviously. But I'm going to go with the guy who has probably the best course history here out of anybody in the field, and that's Justin Thomas. You can get him at 12-1. I got him earlier in the week at 17-1, literally right as the boards opened on Sunday. It was a layup. It clearly got juiced down. Vegas knows that this kid can ball. Justin Thomas has incredible track record at like this 4-week increment in the year from the Waste Management through Bay Hill. He's lights out. And even when he hasn't played extremely well, aka 2-3 years ago when he finished outside the top 75, still had a really good track over this 4-week span. So I'm looking at JT to win this week, but also I'm eyeing him over the next month to have a really, really, really strong showing going in. You know, Ben, we're tied right now in beer money, so we're working hard. I came back from 3 down. We're rolling.
Yeah, I know we're tied. I know how to read.
Yeah, we're
they
doing
taught
it.
us that at Xavier too. I don't know if they taught you how to do that at Quinnipiac, but you know.
Yeah, no, the finance degree and my double major in management and in history, taught us really well.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. That's gonna do it for us. Before Ben wants to gouge my eyes out and I want to punch him in the face. That's gonna do it for here.
Here's the thing: he can't punch me in the face. Number 1, he can't reach because he's too short. Number 2, he's not fast enough. So
You're like a couple inches taller than me.
it could be like your tiny arms, your short, tiny arms. It's cute,
What
though.
about-
It's cute. It's cute. It's cute. Take those glasses away, you can't see either. I mean, my goodness.
That's
Totally
true too.
cool.
I can't see fucking dick if I should take these glasses off. Yeah, have you ever seen the movie Meet the Robinsons?
No, but I don't really think discussing movies on a golf podcast is appropriate. So we should.
Oh, then you would hate any show that fucking Kyle and I do.
Yeah, that's why I don't listen to them.
Yeah, no, Meet the Robinsons. There's a scene where it's a dinosaur.
Again, I don't care. I don't care. You know, I really don't care. Yeah.
Ethan, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Ethan, did I say I don't care?
The dinosaur with tiny arms.
Did I don't care, right? Yeah, no, I don't care.
Ben's gone. Peace out, brother. I'm bringing in KB. What's up, bro?
I feel absolutely led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived that
bamboozled.
He doesn't listen to any episodes that I'm on. That's just disrespectful.
Oh, dude, he left.
Yeah, he's out.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, he leaves and he's getting angry. Yet we recorded until about 10:45 last week when I was on.
That was so good. So good. That's going to do it for us here. Episode 190 of the Getting the Whole podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow on all of our social medias at Getting the Whole Pod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok while it's still around until we eventually move over to Red Note. And of course on YouTube at Underground Sports PHI. We're 17 subscribers away from 1,000?
I will give
12?
you a live update. I'll give you a live update.
We're gonna have a live show for the ticker for once we get to 1,000. 17. Love to hear it. Underground Sports Philadelphia there. You can catch everything from, of course, us to our friends over at F1. And KB made a big Premier League announcement. And for those of you soccer fans, go check that out on the pod. For Ben Pirro, wherever the fuck he is, that's Ethan Hogan. That's Kyle Bennett. Not that way. I'm Steve McAvoy. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Getting the Whole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!